The 863rd edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Get up to a $1,000 deposit match when you sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com and use promo code MMA SGPN.
Adios, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 863 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to Brad Burris, who commented last week that a goat was missing in action. I guess that would be me, but they still got a goat. That would be Gumby. So thank you, Brad. Is true. Well, we're just a couple of goats here. Thank you for coming to the show. This is a Cage Warriors episode. We owe you 2 episodes today, so this is your second episode. Then we will be back on track, back on time, regular schedule programming, all that good stuff. I got a new name. I'm Hota P. Jeff Fox. I got tired of the other one. That's gonna be reeling beside me. And as I said, we're covering Cage Warriors 192, which is going down this weekend in London, England. Thoughts on this here fight card?
This is a pretty good one. I always like a flyweight title fight. We got one on, the today's first episode when we broke down LFA. We get another one here between somebody who keeps proving me right and somebody keeps proving me wrong, which is kind of fun. And so that's a fun fight. We get Qadrian's back in action after winning that one-night tournament. He won, seems like years ago at this point in time. That's fun. You got a bunch of prospects who look like they're on their way to the UFC in this fight card. This is a good Cage Warriors fight card.
There you go. Excellent. That's what we like to hear. And of course, we're going to get you some winners. No odds yet for Cage Warriors or LFA, which we recorded earlier today, which normally they drop a little bit earlier than normal regional ones. So you may have them by the time you get this in your offices. Who's to say? Let's just dive right into it. After I remind you, you can listen to every podcast episode on this network for free just by subscribing to the SGPN feed. So check it out, SGPN feed, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's go across. So Gumby and I have to go across the pond to Cage Warriors 192. Hague versus Scott, London, England, in the Indigo at the O2. This coming Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. When's the UFC Nashville? Do you know what the start time is for that?
I know the main card is 9.
Okay, good.
So it's a later one.
Yep, this should lead you up nicely to it. It is on UFC Fight Pass as per usual. We got 15 fights, so Cage Warriors fight cards tend to always be packed with fights. We're not covering every fight. We're gonna me pick this is top 5 according to Cage Warriors on their
Cage Warriors site has these as the top 5, and then a little bit later on we'll hit you with the lightning round that's got a couple extras.
All right, let's jump into it with a bantamweight bout. Ollie Sarwa.
Is this your favorite nickname of all time?
Yes, it's a good nickname coming up. He is from England. He's fighting Damiano Scogna from Italy, 3 5-minute rounds, 135. Scogna is 5-0-1, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. So he's finished everyone. He has his rounds. 2-0 Cage Warriors. He's won 5 straight fights. So he got a draw in his professional debut. Undefeated, unblemished since then. He's fed at 145, 5 years younger than Sarwa, an inch taller. Sweet and Sarwa is the nickname, which is fantastic. He's 6-0 with 1 no contest. So someone you would think would be losing their O here, unless it's a draw or no contest. He's knocked out all 6 of his wins, so he oses rounds 2. He's won 2 straight, 3 straight via TKO. Well, let's read your championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get a shirt, get a merch, get a gear, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Used to fight at 145. I like nicknames that lead me into how to say the person's last name. So
Sarwa. I think Sarwa's going to be probably -300 favorite. You mentioned 6-0, 6 knockouts. He's the hometown guy too, versus the Italian coming in. And I'm actually going to go underdog here.
You tricked me.
I'm going to kick off the show with my guess is in the plus 275 range here for Scogna. And the reason why is look, Sarwa is definitely the more technical striker. If you watch these two strike, Scogna would rather brawl it out, and Sarwa would much rather, fight a technical fight. But I've also seen every time Sarwa gets hit by something somewhat decent, or if somebody tries to brawl with him, he obliges them. He is like, well, screw it. I don't have to be the more technical guy. I'll just brawl with you too. That's fine. And look, it's landed him a ton of knockouts, and it's worked for him in the past. But I also think it lends him to get taken down in this fight, because Scogna does go to brawl, but then he goes to brawl with the intention of grappling. So he goes in there, swings wildly 3 or 4 times, and then he ducks under and he hits you with a double leg, or he hits you with a trip, or whatever it is he uses to get to the ground. And the thing I like about Scogna, and the reason I think he can beat Sarwa, is that if he tricks him into throwing like that and then jumps underneath on a takedown, his jiu-jitsu is really good. I think he's sort of had issues with it in the past just because he's like tired in some fights. But like if he, goes in there, swings a couple of big bombs, ducks under for the double, his top control, I think, is good enough to hold Sarwa down. I think it's good enough to hold Sarwa down. I think it's good enough to do damage. I think it's probably good enough to win 2 out of 3 rounds as long as he doesn't completely gas out and get hit by something with Sarwa. Because as you mentioned, Sarwa's really dangerous too. And then, Sarwa's gotten enough early finishes that I'm not necessarily convinced his cardio rules either. The big thing, if you watch Sarwa's fight too, is he's fought a lot of guys who don't know what they're doing. Like he's backed them up and they look clueless. He had some high body lock trips and they didn't look like they had the slightest idea how to stop it. I think Scogna is going to go in there. I think he's going to basically play with him a little bit with the striking, and then I think you're going to see him get in on some takedowns. So give me Damiano Scogna here, hopefully as a pretty big underdog.
All right. It won't be very sweet for Mr. Sarwa then, will it? Ha ha ha. All right.
See what he did there, folks?
You missed those. You missed all that, didn't you, when I was gone? All right. We are all over, according to Tapology, we're all over the map, but we are off to Humphries and Evans. That would be 135, so we're sticking with the weight class. Jack Humphries, he's from England. Rory Evans, he's from Wales. 3 5-minute rounds, 135. Talk about Rory Evans first. He is 7-7. 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted 4 times. 5-4 in cage wars. Win over his last 4. 2-4 over his last 6. He's fed at 145. You got a no contest with a pro grappler. Humphries is Jack the Ripper. Humphries 3-0, 1 knockout, 2 submissions. He owes his rounds. All those fights take place in cage wars. 10 years younger than Evans, an inch taller. So it's a setup fight.
Yeah, setup fight. Negative 750 on Humphries, yeah. My guess. It's not just the record either. It's what you could see from watching them. So if you tell me to look at this entire card and say who's the person you're most confident will wind up in the UFC at some point, and I don't mean next, but at some point, my answer would be Jack Humphries. Because even though there's some other talented prospects at the top, Haque is a little bit older, and Qadrian's style maybe is not conducive to the UFC really liking him. Cameron Else has already been there. Jawany Scott might be a hot prospect, but he's at flyweight, and you know how they feel about flyweight. So
yep.
Jack Humphries might be the guy I'm most confident will get there because he seems like the whole package, and he seems like the whole package in a way that the UFC will love. Like big, thunderous, fast kicks to the body, like the type that you can just tell take the air out of his opponents. Quick hands. Somebody shoots on him. He's heavy with the hips, forces him back up to strike with him. And sometimes when he decides not to let him back up to strike, he stays on top, and his ground and pound is actually pretty sick too. He's literally like the prototype of what the UFC is looking for in terms of a prospect because he's fighting the most exciting way. He's fighting the way we say that it'd be a shame if that guy fought that way on Contender Series because that's not his thing. This is his thing. He fights like a Contender Series guy already, and that's what he's good at. So I think that's great. And then, I did my due diligence on Rory Evans too. I didn't just look at the record and say, 7-7 pass on that guy. But if you watch him, the flaws match up perfectly to the successes of Jack Humphries, right? One of the biggest things I've noticed in his takedowns, because he does like takedowns, he'd rather probably grapple than strike if I had to guess from Evans. His takedowns come from so far away and they've got nothing leading up to him. He doesn't throw an overhand right into a double. He throws 2 feints, resets, and then he shoots a double. And it's from 6 miles away, and just about anybody could stop him on it. And, I've seen him get to people's hips before, but because he shot from so far away, he doesn't have a good grip or he's not got enough drive. It's just not there. And then in addition to that too, he's very plodding on the feet. He wants to go second, which is a nightmare when you're fighting a guy who's smarter than you and faster than you and can get in and out of range. So I think Humphries is going to hit him and then not be there to be returned on. So Rory Evans is going to spend the whole fight trying to find his entries and not really getting them. And then, just for the record, I said Jack Humphries close to being a Contender Series guy.
Yep.
If I were to draw some flaws into his game, because I don't think he's perfect yet, right? Maybe my biggest flaw is some of his big strikes, particularly with his hands. Not so much with his kicks, but with his hands. When he throws, it's got a little bit of a windup on it. He still needs to be able to create a little bit more power with a little bit less work. and a little bit less tipping off his opponents. Because if he continues to do it at the rate he's at, he's going to run into competition that's better than Evans and have a little bit of trouble landing those big strikes. But I think where the level he's at right now, he's going to mow Evans down. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this hit 4 figures by the time it gets to fight night.
All right. Get in on it. Well, it's 3 figures, I guess, is our advice here. All right, we're going to move on after I tell you about Circa Millions and Circa Survivor. Think you know ball? They're talking about football for those of you who are un-American. That's ball in the States. Then you have to enter Circa's football contest with $21 million in guaranteed prizes. I guess they say football there too. So there's no rake. So if entries go above the guarantee, all extra money will go to the prize pool. Circa Million, you pick 5 teams against the spread each week or go for the ultimate sweat in Circa Survivor. There is even the Circa Grandissimo, a $100,000 Survivor contest. You must register in person at Circa Sportsbook in Nevada. You know, like you need an excuse to go to Las Vegas, but once you do sign up in Nevada, you can play from anywhere with the help of SGPN's official proxy. So go to footballcontest.com and use promo code SGP to get $50 off your proxy fees. And we are brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every sport, including the MLB, WNBA, golf, and of course, football futures. MyBookie accepts customers for a ton of locations. Easy deposit, lightning fast payouts using crypto. Cage Warriors line should be there very, very shortly, if not already. So head over to MyBookie.ag, check out the lines, and when you do sign up, use our promo code MMA SGPN. That was MMA SGPN. That way you get a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. That's MyBookie.ag, promo code MMA SGPN. We're not doing the Hill versus Hill fight. That would have been fun. Would have been confusing. No Hill versus Hill next. We are doing a couple of names you may recognize. We have talked about them before on the show. Weslley Maia, he is from Brazil. Aiden Stefan, he is from Scotland. They are fighting 3 5-minute rounds at 135. A bantamweight heavy card, at least the portion of it that we're covering here. The phenomenal Aiden Stefan is it Steven? Steven or Stefan?
I think it's Stefan.
Stefan? Okay. He is phenomenal, regardless of how you pronounce his name. He's 11-5. 2 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted twice. 7-4 in Cage Warriors. He's won 3 of 4 and 5 of 9. He won his last fight via submission. He's fed at 145 and 155. He's 3 inches taller than Maia. Magic Maia, 10-6. 5 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 4 and 4 in Cage Warriors. He's won 4 of 5, though. That's nice. And 4 of 7, not so nice. Submission win in his last bout. 1-0 in PFL. Used to fight down at 125. 2015 Pro MMA debut. He's 4 years younger than Stefan, despite being in the game for a long time.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be lined pretty close. My guess is Maia, like negative 165, negative 170. And I'm going to take him in this one. I think the big difference for me is just that, like, Maia's pretty damn good everywhere. You know, we kind of saw it in that one night tournament they had where he fought Alexander Loof. And looked pretty damn good in that fight. You know, like I think Maia has the ability to win a fight anywhere. Like he could take somebody down, he could submit him, he could brawl with him, he could strike technically from distance with him. He's like pretty damn good everywhere. And my problem with Aiden Stephen is he's exceptional in one area. One might even say phenomenal. In one area.
I love it.
And then he's not good anywhere else. And I don't mean that he's like, you know, not even regional level. Like, obviously, it's good enough to keep him in Cage Warriors and have him winning fights. But, like, his jiu-jitsu is nuts. Like, he will be in a grappling exchange, and he'll basically have his back taken, and in 2 seconds, he'll be on that guy's back. It is really, really impressive the way he moves from being in a bad place on the ground to a great place on the ground. His jiu-jitsu is exceptional. His wrestling is not. His ability to get the fight where he wants it, not terribly good. And this fight might be lined closely because there's a chance Maia shoots a takedown. And that's, in my opinion, a terrible idea. As long as Maia just decides, like, we're staying out of there. I'm a better wrestler than you. You have to strike with me. I think Maia wins easily. Because Stefan's grappling is just not that good. Or wrestling is just not that good, rather. His jiu-jitsu is quite good. From a striking standpoint, his hands are just too low for me. I don't know why they're too low either, because seemingly, like, you know, for a guy who is so good at jiu-jitsu, typically their problem is they keep their hands really high because they don't even care if they get taken down.
Right.
His is almost the opposite. His is almost like down, like he's defending a takedown already. And that's going to get him smashed in the face by Maia, who, like, is willing to swing wild with you. He's got some big hooks. He's got a lot of aggression. He's got a lot of pressure. I just think this is Maia's fight to lose, and it will completely come down to his game plan. Like, as long as he's like, look, we're gonna throw. You're not gonna take me down. I'm not gonna foul you to the ground when you flop down like a fish. Let's just throw. He's gonna dominate. He should win easily. He should either get a TKO or the easiest 30-27 you've ever seen. If he's dumb enough to move to the ground, I could see Stefan looking like a win here. So I'm going to say the line stays close. Like I said, like -165 probably. And if that's the case, I'll still take Maia. But like if there were props out there and, maybe Aiden Stevens' number comes in on a submission and it's, not an absurdly low number, you might find some value in that too. But for the money line, I'm going to take Maia.
All right. I appreciate the dad jokes. We got double barrel dad joke action on this here episode. I appreciate it. And if you're counting on the MMA fighter to fight smart, doesn't always happen.
Especially
right?
Maia too. Like, I don't know how much you've watched Maia, but that dude's a madman.
Yeah.
He's clearly having a good time in there, but I don't know if that's conducive to winning all the time. So he's one of those guys.
Those ones are if you like to sweats, then with your bets, then those guys are definitely sweats if you have money on someone who is a bit of a madman. So, all right, we are to our co-main event. A couple of names that we have spoken of before on this here episode. They are not fighting at bantamweight though, right? Because every fight we've covered, I think so far, is bantamweight. This one is bantamweight. There you go. Cameron Else. He is from England. Shirzad Qadrian. He is from Iran. They are fighting 3 5-minute rounds at 135. Qadrian is the Lion. 7-1, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's never been finished. He's 4-1 in cage warriors. He's won 4 straight. He's not lost since July 2023. He has multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get a shirt, get our merch, get all of our good stuff at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky while you're at it too. He's 14 years younger than Else. Else is Kamchita, which was a fun nickname back in the day when he was in the UFC. 11-6, 5 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out 4 times, submitted once. That means he owes his rounds. 3-2 in cage wars. He's won 1 of 3 and 7 of 9. That sounds better. Did win his last bout. That was back in April 2024. He's not lost since April 2022. He went 0-2 in the UFC, 1-0 in Bellator. He's fought at 145 and 155. 2012 pro MMA debut. 0-1 as a pro grappler, 2 inches taller than Qadrian.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Shirzad Qadrian. I think it's going to be the grappling of Qadrian. Like, this guy has fought some really high-level opponents already, right? Like, he fought Weslley, Maia, and Alexander Loof in a single night. He beat those 2 guys. He beat Emmanuel Zakaria earlier in his Cage Warriors time. He beat Rory Evans, who we talked about on the show. He finished Rory Evans. And it's just like that grind style that he brings. He's I can't remember where he trains now, but he's originally from Iran, and he's, an Iranian-style wrestler. Like, those guys come with a very high level of wrestling, and he's up against the guy who has, let's call a spade, piss-poor takedown defense. Cameron Else, you might remember from his stint in the UFC, where he had a 0% takedown defense. And not even against guys who you're like, oh, yeah, that wrestler got him. It was like Keelan Aori, took him down every time he wanted to. And you're like, well, that ain't great. And now he's going to be fighting like an Iranian-style wrestler. And yes, Cameron Else is still the more fun striker in this fight. He's the guy who's going to be explosive and stuff like that. But the thing I like about Qadrian when it comes to that is he's very much within himself in terms of the striking. And this is, again, why I said before that I think Jack Humphries is the quintessential UFC prospect, because while Qadrian might be a better fighter, right? Like, he won a one-night tournament with Alexander Loof and Weslley Maia, and he's already proven himself at a pretty high level. Was supposed to fight Liam Gittins. And with all of that, he's so safe and tentative on the feet, but in the way that plays into what he's doing very well. He doesn't overextend himself. He's not going to be lured into a crazy fight with Cameron Else. And I think that is why, first of all, the UFC probably won't enjoy watching him at any point in time, but also that he'll keep winning fights like this and he'll keep beating guys who are clearly better strikers than him, like Cameron Else, because the takedowns, they're just that elite. They're just that tough for Cameron Else to deal with. And Else has shown that that's his biggest weakness. So give me Shirzad Qadrian. And I don't know if I predicted a number here. Let me see what I wrote down. I wrote down 275, negative 275. I think he's got to be a sizable favorite. Although, I mentioned on earlier today's show when we were talking about LFA, sometimes that UFC record pulls things down a little bit. And I can't imagine it pulling it down that much. Cameron Nelson's UFC stint wasn't good.
94% of topologists are in on Qadrian with you. So
yeah, they get it.
Yep. All right. Before we get to our main event, it's time to tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Best Ball Mania is happening all summer long, giving away $15 million in prizes, including $2 million to first place. No waiver wire, no arguments about trades. Best Ball is the best way to play fantasy football. Underdog also is a great place to play Pick'em. Gumby will give you an example of what you can play in Pick'em right now.
Yeah, if you're going to Monday night, one of the lines I like Monday night is the lower than on Yu Darvish's strikeouts. He's playing the late game tonight. He's making his debut, his 2025 debut, but he's doing so against the Diamondbacks, who do a pretty good job of making contact. He's got some really bad history with the Diamondbacks as well. So let's take the lower than on Yu Darvish's strikeouts.
All right. Sign up with our code MMASGPN. That way you get to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. So underdogfantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. And Rhythm, you've heard us talk about Rhythm before, and they just dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends. These are AI-detected patterns where Rhythm's model has consistently won and has a high ROI. Think a strikeout prop that wins 59% of the time when the line and win probability hit a certain range. Power Trends are updated daily and exclusive to Rhythm. No touts, no noise, just clean, data-backed bets. Download the Rhythm app, check out the Power Trends, and start betting smarter. We will be. Did you find anything about Diamondbacks on there? Is that where you got that info?
Yeah, that's where I got that the Diamondbacks don't strike out. I saw a pitcher I liked last week. I was looking to get in on his strikeout props, and they were like, "Oh, hang on a second there," and they had the under, and I was like, "Well, why do they have the under?" And it turns out Diamondbacks not striking out a lot lately. So make sure that you save yourself from making bad picks and make some good ones with Rhythm.
There you go. Be smart like Gumby. You can do it. You can check it out for free. 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Rhythm, RITHMM. That's the key. Spell it that way. All right, we're to our Cage Wars Flyweight Championship main event. Shaj Haque. Shaj. Haque. Is it Haque? Is it Haque or Haque?
Haque.
Yeah. Haque versus Jawany Scott. They're both from England. They're fighting 5-minute rounds for the belt. Scott is the challenger. He is 7-1, 2 knockouts, 1 submission. He's never been finished. 4-0 in Cage Warriors. He's won 6 straight TKO win in his last bout. He's not lost since November 2022. He went 0-1 as pro kickboxer. He's 7 years younger than Haque. Haque is Superman, 16-5 with 5 knockouts. He's been knocked out once. 8-2 in Cage Warriors. He's the champ. He's already successfully defended his title once. He's won 6 straight fights. He's not lost since September 2020. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get a shirt, get a merch, get all the good stuff. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Used to fight at 135, 2012 pro MMA debut for Haque.
So I think Jawany Scott's going to be the favorite, despite being the challenger here. Both the record, how Jawany Scott's been winning lately, and also just that Haque is getting really old. And I don't mean to hate on him, but he's like 34 or 35 at flyweight.
Yep.
That's not like prospect age, right? And so everybody's wants the 7-1 up and comer to be the one to sort of take the mantle here and be the guy in charge and be a guy who they can get to the UFC. So I think Scott's going to be the favorite. Obviously, not being the champ, it won't be too big. So my guess is like negative 150, probably like a plus 130 return on Haque. And I'm going to go with Haque. I really don't mean to be a Jawany Scott hater because I seemingly pick against him every single time he fights, even against guys who are, I believe when I picked against him last time, somebody wrote in the comments that David Scarano is quote unquote a bum. And
was he?
I mean, so here's the reason why I'm still not picking Jawany Scott all this time later is that like David Scarano very well might have been a bum for that fight, right? Like he very much was not up to Jawany Scott's level, but he did wrestle him for like a substantial amount of time, considering that Scott was like this hot prospect and Scarano was this guy people were laughing at. Like he went in there, he wrestled him, he made him sweat, he made him scramble, he made him work really hard. And if you want to go back a couple more fights from there too, same thing happened to Jawany Scott when he fought Jared Harris, is that like the guy took him down, the guy made him work, the guy pinned him against the cage. And like all of those things are not great for Scott, but they look even worse when you consider what Haque is good at. And that's, Haque is a guy who wants to grind. He wants to make this dirty. He wants to make this an ugly fight. And that's kind of what's given Jawany Scott problems in the past. Now, he hasn't been too big of a problem because he's always been able to out athletic the guy he's fighting, or, scramble better than the guy he's fighting. But is he going to scramble better than Haque? And then on top of all that too, Hake's hands are really coming around. And I know I just made a joke about him not getting better because he's older, but his hands really have gotten better. You look at that last fight. Was it last fight or 2 fights ago with Sam Creasy? Must have been 2 fights ago because Sam Creasy's in Octagon now and has fought a couple of times since. But like when he fought Sam Creasy, he didn't have a ton of success early with the wrestling because Creasy's, pretty damn good in that avenue. But then he did knock out Creasy. Like he did throw a hook that seemingly came out of nowhere and put him out, and put him out is what we're talking about there. So like we're talking about Haque, a guy who his hands have certainly come around. His jabs are starting to find a home. He's really figuring out the striking end of the game. And I think he's got the right tools to fight the right style that's going to give Jawany Scott problems, and has given Jawany Scott problems in the past. Now I want to give Scott his flowers here too, because he's a really good striker. He's very exciting. Should he beat Haque here? I think he should probably be on Contender Series. Heck, I thought he was the perfect kind of pick to put on The Ultimate Fighter. So like, it's seemingly like he's this fight away, but like, I think Haque, especially if you can get him at dog money, between the pressure, between the wrestling, between the evolving striking, I think it can give Scott enough problems here to pull it out. So give me Haque here, hopefully underdog money.
Jawany Scott must have some Canadian in his background because you keep hating him, right? He's a Canadian relative somewhere, right?
I haven't hated on a Canadian in a minute. No, I don't think
it's true. We haven't talked about one for a little bit though. All right, Jawany Scott hater. He will keep his Jawany Scott hate going. Let's give you a recap. Haque, he has got Qadrian. He has got Maia. He's got Humphries. He has got Scogna. All right, Gumby, lightning round. Zap, bam, boom, pow. Lots to choose from here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Rafael Aronoff, brother of Eli Aronoff. He looks great sometimes. Maybe not so much the rest of the time, but he's fighting a guy who I think they're setting him up to get a victory. So I'll take Rafael Aronoff. And then I'm going to take another kind of journeyman guy. I'm going to take Naglis Kanasakis. He's a Lithuanian kickboxer. It seems like they always give him like huge steps up in competition, like really tough guys. And he like goes to war and fights for your money. He's probably going to be a big underdog in this fight. My guess is like you could probably get him in like the 300 range. And if you want like a guy who is going to fight for your money at like plus 300, Naglis Kanasakis is 100% that guy. So for the 2 lightning round plays, we're going to take Naglis Kanasakis and Rafael Aronoff.
All right. You are set now for Cage Warriors this weekend. If you want to chat more about Cage Warriors or anything else, we are always in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. You can hit us up on YouTube, MMA Gambling Podcast. Make sure you subscribe first, please and thanks. You can hit us up on the old Twitter, SGPN MMA. He's at Gumby Relay, and I'm at Jeff Fox Writer there, and on Instagram as well for me. Check out my Substack at moneymma.substack.com. A free subscription will get you a entry every week into my UFC Pick'em contest, and you can win fabulous prizes. Gummy's got another podcast, Top Turtle MMA podcast. Tell the people who is on it this week.
Yeah, we got a pair of main card fighters from UFC Nashville this week. We are talking with Steve, the Meme Machine Garcia, who's going to be fighting Calvin Kattar. And we're also talking to Austin Lane, who is fighting Vitor Petrino, heading up to heavyweight for the very first time. So you're going to want to catch those interviews.
Yep, check it out, Top Turtle MMA. Check all of our stuff out at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. All right, that's enough for today. You got 2 episodes. We will be back tomorrow, though. We're going to be brave. Ha, ha, ha. More dad jokes, and we're going to cover Brave tomorrow. Gumby, bid us farewell.
All right, I'm Dana Gumby Freeland. He's Cam Cheetah, Jeff Fox, and we will see you tomorrow.